Gauntlet.
Punching their tickets to the Global Gauntlet Finals.
Qualified for the Global Gauntlet.
They are to the finals.
Global Gauntlet.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Global Gauntlet REWOUND series, bringing you guys all the matchups that we weren't able to bring you guys on stream. We have a matchup in round 4 between Azure and ZEST. My name is Kyon. On the other side with me is Nito. And Nito, to say the least, we have two teams that are very talented, and the first one coming up here is Azure.
Azure going to be the roster headlined by Zenith, followed by Volti, Yoshell, Hexen, and Thunder. All of these are names that our friends in the western side of the world will certainly know, and names that we will certainly recognize throughout all of competitive Splatoon. I mean, just domestically, they've had a 73.7% win rate. They've been able to do so much on this side of the pond, and it's no surprise that we're seeing them play at this upper echelon of competitive Splatoon, and they're going to be facing off against a powerful opponent.
Yeah, that powerful opponent being ZEST here with Shuma, Chocopero, Ryukun, and Ko. And this team here out of the Area Cup invitees here have some very, very talented power. I mean, look at the max power that they got. Very, very talented group. And Chocopero, of course, widely regarded as one of the greatest in Splatoon history. Needless to point out here. So I think Nito for Azure, they pretty much have a lot waiting for them here. As hey, this is gonna be a fun matchup. I think we will be able to see between these two teams.
An understatement.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we're gonna give you guys the recap here with the strikes on stages and the stages being pictured. So strikes, of course, would be Lemur Hub and Eel Tail Alley out of Azure's side. That's what the two maps are being picked out of. ZEST has went ahead and also struck out Bluefin Depot and Mahi Resort. So for this first map, of course, randomly selected here out of the pool of remaining maps, we got Scorch, Gorge, Zones, and Nito. Scorch, Gorge, Zones, one that don't normally get a lot of airtime, and this one can be pretty difficult to start things off, especially with how wide this map becomes. As we're about to load right into this game, Azure side, of course, on Alpha and ZEST on Bravo, and anything that strikes out to you as we load right into this game, Nito.
I mean, you're going to see most of what you'd expect from both of these sides, especially from Azure. This seems to be the bread and butter for most of these players, especially Thunder with the dualies. That's something you expect to see from these players. And when you look at ZEST, more of the same. We're going to see the weapons that we expect to see Ko on the Slosher, Chocopero with the Splattershot Pro, or the Forge Pro rather. But either way, there's a lot that you can expect to see from both of these sides. And you're seeing it.
Yeah, and we're definitely seeing it here. And the things to keep an eye out on is first the painting difference here that both teams are dishing out. Of course, you have cooler options here with the Snipe Rider and the End Zap here. So I want to see how this all materializes. There, Shuma getting the pick onto Yoshell to help get things going. Again, with the wide zones that we're seeing here, Nito, it's going to really boil down to not just the special usage that both teams will be having here, but it's also just trying to figure out, okay, what are our entry points, trying to move right into this. And so far, Azure kind of just stuck in their own base. The Booyah Bomb has been burned here by Chocoperos. That will give ZEST a chance to strike. And so far, Nito, ZEST is just having full control of the zone and pretty much close to Azure's base.
And the amount of commitment you're going to need to use, and I'm glad you bring about special usage, because you're having to commit a lot of resources just to get into the zone. The fact that it's on low ground, it's going to be something that you have to dive straight into. It's going to be a lot for Azure to keep up with, especially when you're playing against players like Ko, who are just so talented at taking these fights, and they expect you to want to take those fights sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and this map could get out of control here as Cole was able to get the double tap and get the pick onto Zenith there, and the clock struck down to 0. That is game 1 going over to ZEST to start things off, and I think you kind of see how that first map played out here. Nito was it was kind of an explosive start to begin that map, but it was then, of course, when you were starting to chain out these specials. That's where you're gonna see a lot of the advantages show here from ZEST. We get to see some of the stats that came out of this game, and Shuma had insane kill participation here. 80% of the fights that were contributing, pretty much leading to some of the kills that we saw on the board.
I loved seeing what Ko was able to do with that vanilla slosher, and I hope to see more of it, but with it also being Scorch zones, you can expect Ko to have that level of damage. The 6 kills, no deaths, it's a perfect game. In the perfect conditions, Ko must have loved that first game.
Yeah, for sure. So we're about to move right into the list to the selected stages here from ZEST. Museum de Alfonsino was the first. Mincemeat Metalworks is going to be the second one. So now we go into Azure's pick, and they will pick Umami Ruins entering game 2. So what we saw from Azure in the previous game was that they had a rough time trying to test that zone, and moving right into it. You have we want to see what Azure can do here, with their respective comps, because it had a bit of a rough go right into that mid to late game,
Yeah, and this pick is also going to work well towards ZEST, because what Azure needs is a reliable way to re-enter and to retake those zones. But with Umami Ruins, it's really only this one angle that you can take. It's going to be straight on. So I want to see what Azure brings to the table and what they do, what changes they make strategy-wise.
Yeah, as we're about to queue right into this game, and I think the big thing to keep in mind is that custom blaster that Thunder as just dished out. You have the triple splash on that is available, and now you have Volty and Thunder with the two players that will probably look to cause a lot of initiation, be the big factor here for Azure. But Shuma gets the pick onto Zenith there, and then 3 members have also gone down from Azure. So Nito, this is a stellar start for ZEST as they're looking to lock out Azure.
Stellar indeed. I'm getting shades of the previous matchup. The only difference here is that you're able to go a lot further up, and the other difference is that you're going to start losing some numbers soon afterwards. So I want to see what Azure does. They're in a better position with this matchup.
Yeah. Now they have a Booyah Bomb that is available from Chocopero, as we do get to see that Booyah Bomb be used, and they are pressuring out Azure for just a few quick moments, down to the 42-point domain, and get to see that one contest of the zone that we are seeing so far. Low health bars there for Shuma as well. And so far, it doesn't look like the retake quite there yet from Azure. Nito, ZEST is still holding their ground.
That's incredible work there, but now they're still losing those numbers. It's incredible to see what ZEST is able to do despite going down. Normally for any team, losing 1 or 2 players is going to cause you to rethink, and you're going to have to make some decisions on the fly, but not for ZEST though. ZEST is cruising along nicely, and with that wipeout to boot, it's an incredible 2-0 start for ZEST.
Yes, ZEST 2-0 start to continue on with this particular set. I think one of the things that I'd like to see is what were Ko stats at the end of that. Ko once again picking up splat after splat after splat for their team, and also team successfully holding the line as well when Azure had a chance for the retake there. Ko getting that 4-2 on stat line, almost close to equal kill participation across the board. Shuma again once again contributing the most.
Right, it's that end zap, and with that end zap, you're able to spread the love the most. So no surprises there from Shuma, Ryukun, Chocopero, and Ko, all able to bring actually equal amounts, believe it or not. But with Azure, you still seem to be struggling a little bit. You were able to get yourself on the board in terms of kills more often than that previous matchup, which at least gives you something to look forward to as you head into Game 3.
Yeah, heading into Game 3, the selected stages, Flounder Heights and Urgent Underpass off the board, and Azure will have a chance to pick again here, as they have selected their stage and now entering MakoMart zones, basically the most common zones map that we're getting to see off the board. And I think one of the things that I feel like, Nito, the way the set has progressed is the answers against Ko and the rest of ZEST has kind of been rough here from Azure. So I want to see what changes they have. Yoshel on the E leader might prove to be huge, and ZEST, I think, is going to be running back what they have ran previously.
And I like that B leader pick as well. You were talking about Ku and what they've been able to do with the Slosher. I personally think that if you're able to just snipe them off the ground, that makes it a lot easier for you to get back in, especially on a map like this where that Slosher is going to thrive.
Yeah, and right now the three members having gone down here from Azure, meaning that this is gonna be a lot of control that Zest is able to get right out of the gate. So positioning wise, you get to see Shuma and Chocopero approaching that right hand side and trying to see if they can catch everybody off guard. But this leaves the middle of that map open here for Azure's to take. But Azure in this case is going three down, making that the delayed wipeout. This is going to be a quick run here for Zest. If they're going to be able to keep this one up, they have specials available, the Buoy Bomb and the triple Ink Strikes. And that is, I believe, the Trip Strikes used, but the Buoy Bomb pretty much gone out of the board. And Nito, 2 members going down. This looks like Azure has a good chance to contest, but they are going to lose the zone really quickly.
And another thing working out for Volti here is going to be these off-angle attacks. That's how you get yourself to these picks. So Azure in a much better spot. This is what they've been looking for. Now we especially get an opportunity to see how they do holding this zone, which is something they haven't been able to do the rest of the set, mind you.
Yeah, and being able to get control zone gives Azure a lifeline to work with. So now they can get their bearings back here after instead of Zest possibly running this one for the potential KO. So I want to see what Zest can do to keep the zones in their favor here, because Azure may be able to run this with all their might. They've actually eliminated 3 there, so now they have a Zuka and the cooler bit that has just been popped, and Volti, I believe, trying to use this Zuka here, trying to see if they can catch anybody off guard with those Zuka shots, but they aren't able to do that quite yet. And Azure not able to break through the 76 points range. They're still losing a lot of fights here, Nito.
The thing I'm noticing about Azure is that Volti is going to become the focal point of this offense. The picks that Volti gets are often going to be the start that Azure needs to get. It kind of reminds me of Volti's role with Alliance Rogue. So they're trying. It seems like Azure's going to try to play off that, try to play off these specials as well. Thunder's been done excellently with this crab, and actually gets another pick, just rolling somebody down. So maybe you don't need Volti all the time. Maybe you just need Thunder to come through with a few picks and get a delayed wipe as well.
Yeah, Thunder with the assist on the delayed weapon, especially using the crab tank to push keep one of the Zest members in that corner there. It is going to give Azure a chance to get control of the zone, especially now that they're past these penalty points. Now they got to look to see if they can move forward with it. I see Zuka's getting one and then a second one following suit. That is going to open up the map here for Azure to move forward, because there's the only specials available from Zest is just the Trip Strikes, which will likely be staggered out here, being thrown to that left stack, wisely used to get a retake of the zone. Yes, Yes, you first get the recap at the end. The penalty points are going to be applied, but this forces Azure back just a bit. Zest quickly getting control back of that zones here, Nito, which gives Zest a chance to get full control of the map if they can do so.
You know what's better than one focal point in the offense? More, 2, and maybe 3. Yosho has an excellent record with these picks and still has another one going on. There's some quick tap shots to dispatch the slosher, but the good news about Azure is that you have a lot to look forward to with these retakes. This is a welcome change from the last 2 matches, and it's some more to boot. This is what I've been wanting to see from Azure.
Yeah, and Yosho getting the serendipitous double there is going to be important here. It's going to slow down Zest's respawns here, and they only have a wavebreaker that they can work with. Not much to say here other than just to displace a few members from Azure here, so Thunder can then collapse onto Chocopero, which is going to help their cause, especially with the couple that have gone down. And you can feel, Nito, with the momentum going on Azure's favor, especially out of these penalty points, they can push Zest back with the way the game conditions have kind of been set, as they're doing just that. They're just trying to push Zest back here to just give themselves some time to work with on the zone, and this will be the lead change. A couple members have gone down at the end with 40 seconds left in this clock. The question is, can Zest get any control of the map with just their main weapons? They're able to do so, but that is a critical lead change here, and Thunder taking out Ko out of the picture along with the rest of their team following up suit. Suit here is giving Azure a chance to get control of the map.
It's very rare that I hear someone pose a question while on a mic and then immediately get follow up with the answer, because Keon, whether the question was, can he get control with the main weapons, and the answer is probably not, actually. Azure is so smooth, so well composed, something that I saw from Zest in the first two stages, that it's a welcome change for him as it's starting to run down these penalty points.
Yeah, they're running on these penalty points. That's how we see that 2-1 set here as Azure gained a map off of ZEST, and I feel like the way that kind of played out were some huge moments that happened throughout that game. Yeah, they lost to their own. Yosho getting to a snipe there with the double in the context of where that game kind of in the context of where that game went, Nito, it kind of opened up the map a bit. It kind of slowed down ZEST. That gives Azure a chance to just strike back and push further into this one as we get a quick look at the stats here, and it looks a lot more balanced from Azure side there. Volty, Yosho, and Thunder getting double digits in kills.
I mean, nicely pointed out the amount of paint that Xena is able to put down, because, and the amount of assists and kill percentage as well, because again, with NZAP, those are the numbers you want to see. In fact, for most of Azure, these are numbers you want to see, especially for Yosho with the E leader. That's an excellent stat line in the KDA. You want to have more of these picks while still being able to preserve yourself for the longest amount of time. And guess what? Yosho is currently running a clinic on how to use that E leader.
And one thing to point there, especially with the paint, you're at least 1,000 paint there, which means you can farm coolers for days. And I think it's been the biggest factor here, because that allows Azure to just play a little bit more aggressive. You can, when you have that cooler available, you can move fast. You can get out of respawns quicker if you end up going down. So that gave Azure a chance to control the tempo of that game in their favor here. So Nito, now with Azure being able to select 2 stages here, they get Marlin Airport off the board. So now the second one being Humpback Pump Track, but that gives ZEST a chance to get a pick of their own. There, with being up 2-1, you feel being up 2-1 though, you can now pick a map that you feel like can close out this set here, and they're gonna pick Sturgeon Shipyard coming up here, which is a very interesting map to say the least.
If you're going to go back to that E leader, this is going to be excellent, because there's a lot of open range for you to just pick off opponents. This may very well be open season for Azure, but for ZEST, it at least provides more opportunities for that slosher to come back out and start running up the numbers once more. So gonna like to see what we see from both of these teams as we get started with Game 4.
Yeah, Game 4 now coming up here with ZEST with the advantage of 2-1. The question is, were they going to tweak anything, or do they feel like they can play this map with the comp that they have, which they're running NZAP, the heavy splatling from Ryukyu, Choco Pero with the Forge Pro and Co on that slosher. So want to see how the weapons together can cause some havoc. Yosho going to be sticking with the E leader though, which is going to be interesting to see if Yosho can get some of those snipes there with their E leader in question. But right away, Nito, ZEST, you can feel like they got control of that map, and now they can look to punish Azure a bit backwards here, as a couple members going down is going to give ZEST an extended control of this zone.
Yeah, I mean, that was an opportunity there to have an explosive start, something that we've seen from ZEST, but Azure still trying to feel out ZEST, trying to figure out where most of their players are. Unfortunately, ZEST comes in, sees that slower pace, and says, we're going to take advantage of that and go and run it with some players of our own, and now they have the zone.
Yeah, now Azure focusing 3 right here, and Yosho's pushed to the further right, and that trip strike means that it blocks Yosho's sight lines, which gives the rest of ZEST a chance to strike big. There's Choco Pero in a perfect position to take out Yosho, and Thunder having to jump in to try to save Yosho, but it's going to be too little too late. Those trip strikes that you just saw, Nito, provided a smoke screen that basically prevented Azure to get any clear sight lines for Yosho to get through, and with about 13 ticks left, it is going to look like ZEST will have control of this.
Wow, ZEST, what a welcome way to make your dominance known once more. I mean, we're already up to 3 remaining, and even with what would have been an excellent setup for a retake, ZEST finds 3 picks in the zone as well to close things out on Game 4. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better ending to this matchup if I were ZEST. That was great stuff to see there, and like you said, with that smoke screen and with Choco Pero able to come in and just wrap up shop there, it is a good example of the phrase "fortune favors the bold."
It's also a clinic on just high IQ Splatoon too, as we get to see this one. The kill participation there has also heavily favored what Ko and Choco Pro was able to bring out for impact. The trip strikes were huge right in that tail end, because that could have given Azure almost an avenue to work with for getting a retake onto that zone, and you can kind of saw Yosho got completely shut down on the other side for Azure. So ZEST just played that magnificently here from start to finish, and it kind of just detailed like how well coordinated ZEST was as a team, especially with the 3 maps, and the most competitive one being that MakoMart zones.
And especially with Zest, it almost, I mean, we talk about coordination. We want to talk about what Zest was able to do at the last match. I mean, we talk about it a lot. That trip strike, able to set things up. Trocapero able to close things out with this triple that we saw. I like that from Zest. I mean, what their main bread and butter has been all game has been just being explosive, being aggressive. And that last match is a prime example of that because they saw that Azure was still trying to get a feel for Zest, still trying to figure out where the players are, where to set up. Zest says, okay, well, thanks for the opening. We're going to go ahead and take the game from here. And the thing about Azure is that they didn't know it was going to be the game from there. So great stuff from Zest all around.
Yeah, excellent stuff from Zest. That is how we saw the 3-1 in that round 4. So that was that for that round 4 matchups. That was myself, Kyon, and Nito. There, socials on screen if you guys want to find us. Otherwise, that was the recap of that Azure and Zest set. You have thanks for tuning in. You have watched the Global Gauntlet REWOUND series.